What's up, everybody? I'm here with Filthy Tom Lawlor, MMA legend, superstar. I don't know if you want to call it superstar. Pro wrestler. You got a match coming up for Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 3 on October 11th. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't wait to get in there for Bloodsport, the preeminent combat sports show in the professional wrestling world. The best fighters, the best athletes that you can find going out there and fighting. It's a little over a week away, I guess. You know, in 10 days or 9 days, I'll be in there. But right now, still training my ass off and getting ready for my match.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. So for those that are not too familiar with Bloodsport, it is a pro wrestling event, but it also kind of blends the lines between pro wrestling and MMA. Most of the fighters are actual MMA fighters, trained and also pro wrestlers. And it's kind of not the fluff you're used to with like WWE or anything like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a different environment. If WWE is sports entertainment, this is brutal combat sports. Those are essentially the only similarities between the two. They are, one-on-one environments where people are trying to win. It's in a ring, but that's pretty much where the similarities end. You know what I mean? You're not going to see any fluff like you mentioned. There's no BS. This is about competition. This is about seeing who's the better man and or woman inside there. Hell, there's not even ropes on the ring. You cannot pin your opponent. You can't use the cheap way out of victory by pinning their shoulders to the mat and getting the win. You have to knock them out. You have to make them submit. I guess the ref can stop it when I'm beating Homicide so badly that he's unconscious, because I don't know if he's the kind of guy to tap, but
he won't.
I'm gonna bludgeon him either way. So yeah, this is not your sports entertainment. It's not even traditional professional wrestling that most people are used to. This is professional wrestling in its purest form.
For sure, puro resu, as they say, in Japan. I'm a big fan of it. Fan of all of it, really. Even the fluff stuff. It's entertainment. It's my soap opera. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The wives like to watch soap operas. I like to watch the pro wrestling shows because, hell, it's at the end of the day, people are still hurting each other, and that's all I care about. So.
You just love it, huh? You love to watch other people be punished.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I would be in there if I didn't have a myriad of injuries myself. Every time I train hard to go to try and do a match, I end up breaking an elbow or a knee or something. Like, great, now I got to wait another 6 weeks of recovery and bullshit so I can get back in there. But
yeah, sounds about right. That's my life. I guess I was just lacking any other job skills, so I just had to keep going back to it. No matter how badly I got hurt. So. Yeah, it's brutal. Obviously, I love watching people be punished and beaten and ravaged and destroyed and everything else as well. But like you said, I love the entertainment aspect of it as much as anybody else. If you're somebody who followed my MMA career or know me from that, it's very, very clear that I view this as entertainment. As well, no matter what environment I'm in.
For sure. You got to be as UFC has shown, the people who make the most noise and are almost kind of like WWE personalities end up, making their way to the top pretty quickly. I mean, even including WWE personalities like CM Punk, who tried it and didn't go so well for him, but it's one of those things. Like, you look at Conor McGregor, like, he's good, but on top of that, the reason he's so popular is because he is like a WWE guy. He goes out there and just talks shit.
Yeah, exactly. And there are other, people are going to bring up Conor McGregor. They'll bring up and Colby Covington, guys like that who have, a penchant for trash talk. But there's also other superheroes or heels and villains that come out of it that, when you really look at it a little bit more in depth, there's guys out there like George St. Pierre, basically the ultimate baby face, especially for an entire, country of Canada. And he did it in a completely opposite way. Israel Adesanya, he's a hero for all the comic book and video game nerds out there and anime geeks who love martial arts, So there's not only people who just go out there and talk trash, but there's also these other characters that are there. And that stuff's not built upon, always like hocus pocus, insulting storylines. These are real life things. And professional wrestling could draw a lot from that. They just simplified things. Don't insult what people are, the viewers' intelligence. Don't insult the people who are out there watching. And I mean, Bloodsport sure as hell not going to insult anybody who's looking for action.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the people that are watching Bloodsport, just on name alone, they're just either people that are fans of the movie, or people that are fans of Barnett and MMA, and then some of the diehard, like hardcore wrestling fans that watch, Minoru Suzuki and Hideki, all those dudes that are actual, it's not shoot fighting, but it kind of is. They're really elbowing each other in the face and slapping them, across the chest and trying to submit them by breaking their ankles.
Yeah, and I think there's a huge, you mentioned like the hardcore wrestling fans that are like that, but I think there's a lot more people who are into that sort of style than you imagine. Even the people who, watch wrestling now that get a ton of high flying and high spots and, kind of like back and forth nonstop action that's more like Super Smash Brothers than it is, Virtua Fighter 2 or something, So there's all these different styles, and I think there's really a avenue or a fan base that really just wants to see people beat the crap out of each other. And that seems to me like it's a thing you get the least of in mainstream American wrestling. You get a lot of cool slams, high impact moves, but how often do you see guys go out there trying to win and trying to beat each other up and trying to wear the other guy down through attrition? There's a lot of things that, and most people might watch a match and, on the surface, it may not seem as exciting because there's not as many flips and stuff like that. But, to me and to a large number of fans, a bigger number of fans, a growing number of fans, I think, we just want to see two guys beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah, the element of trying to see who's going to win kind of goes out the door when you look at products like the Fed or anything like that, because a lot of the time I find myself kind of knowing, like, they'll put on a match and I'll say, there's no way that dude's going to lose this match. So the whole story of the struggle is kind of pointless in my head already. I'm like, I don't even care because I know he's not going to lose, what stuff like Bloodsport makes you kind of watch at the edge of your seat because you don't know who's going to win that match.
Yeah, exactly. And guys are trying to win the entire time. I can tell you from being on a few of the shows in the past that, Josh isn't really like pulling punches in the back. He's telling guys, you got to go out there and try to fight each other, and, like I said, I just think that's, I don't know if it's like the wave of the future, but it was something that was kind of forgotten for a while. And I think that it's going to be, the thing that's going to make its way, back into wrestling more. And it's the thing that I enjoy the most. People always talk, when they talk about Japan, they'll talk about like Suzuki and Ishii and those guys and how great their work is. And it's like, yeah, because they're just a little bit different because they're trying to win the whole time. They're trying to fight you. It's a nonstop battle, but it's not based around, acrobatics and stuff that wouldn't present itself necessarily in a real fight. I love it. That's a style I love. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but for those of people who do like that style, I mean, this is the show for you.
Yeah, for sure. For those that are fans of, like, to me personally, I could watch Suzuki and Ishii chop each other for hours. I don't care. That's the style for me. So I'm most excited about Bloodsport, and also you can kind of see that, like to your like what you're saying, that the fan base seems to be growing, and even WWE has been taking notice with their recent Raw Underground with Shane McMahon. Like that's such a blatant ripoff from Bloodsport, but like at the same, like I've talked to Josh about it, and he's like, it's flattering that
Yeah,
that they're taking it into consideration because the people, there is a demand for that, and you can also kind of see it in what's going on with MMA, like UFC. It seems to be kind of, there's so many different rules and this, that, and the other that now bare knuckle fighting is taking off. You know what I mean? People want a little bit more edge to everything.
yeah, and that actually kind of goes back to like what we were talking about earlier with wrestling, where you have all these different styles, and you were talking about entertainment, and then obviously Bloodsport's not based upon entertainment; it's based around competition. But even in MMA, right? You've got UFC, so we're talking an octagon cage, varying sizes, 5-minute rounds, unified. Well, somewhat unified rules. None of the states can get together on the unified rules, which is fucking baffling. But unified rules. Bellator uses a circular cage. You could also still use a ring. Now there's bare knuckle fighting. There's, I believe, like kickboxing with MMA gloves in rings, in cages. I think, and actually, I mean, I could stand corrected, but I think Josh Barnett himself is fighting in Poland.
Bare knuckle against
Bloodsport, or 2 weeks after Bloodsport, in a bare knuckle fight with elbows, I believe is the rule. So it's like, no matter, and then we haven't even talked about kickboxing or boxing.
Right.
No matter what flavor of fighting you like, and quite frankly, I mean, I like all of them. I like grappling. I like judo. I like sumo wrestling. I love all of it, So for me, it's like, this is one of the best times to be alive, obviously, as a viewer, because you can get all this stuff. But even when you break it down between MMA, having all those different styles, and wrestling now is having, different promotions doing different things. And, Bloodsport is one of those. And, Raw Underground, Ring of Honor has been doing this pure tournament with different rules, so there's a myriad of things going on in wrestling. And if you can't find something that you like, you're out of your mind,
Yeah. And I like that. I appreciate the fact that, Jon Moxley is going to be a part of it as well, because, you see him and he's part of the AEW thing, which is not directly competing, but it's the competition to WWE, to the fluff. And to see him kind of leave that world to try this and be a little more aggressive and show a little bit more of his like hardcore stuff like that. That's cool, because that's also going to bring eyes from that product. Everybody that's watching AEW is going to be like, well, shit, Mox, the champ is going to go do something else. Let's go check that out.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the, it's kind of tough being on the inside, and not looking at it from the outside perspective. Because to me, it's like, the fan base is going to be the fan base. I don't like, I was going to watch the show regardless of Moxley being on it. And I'm on it now. So of course I'm going to watch it. But there's going to be so many more eyes on it that perhaps weren't on it before. And that's something honestly, I hadn't really considered that much, Moxley did a similar style match against Killer Cross here in Las Vegas. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I was on the show. I just don't remember. I get hit in the head a lot. It was the Natural Born Killers show here in Las Vegas. And they had, he looked great. He looked great at what he was doing. So I was really excited to see him against Barnett. And, now I'm excited to see him against Dickinson. And it's gonna be awesome.
I hope that actually happens at some point, the Barnett Mox match, because it was kind of like it's like not destined to happen. It was first he got injured, and then the COVID hit, and so it's like what are we gonna do?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's gonna go down. I mean, this is we're getting Moxley here in Bloodsport against Dickinson, and I don't think anybody thought that was gonna happen. So and like I said, Moxley, he trains MMA, so I'm pumped up to see.
Yeah, I'm pumped to see you and Homicide, man. I mean, Homicide is a maniac. I've seen.
Doesn't train MMA, I would imagine.
No, he just does like the death matches that I've seen. I've just seen him in death matches. I've seen him out here at PCW Ultra with some of the dudes you've worked with over at MLW. Joseph and Fatu and
Yep.
all those dude, I was watching those videos. It was so nuts watching you get like your head shaved and all that shit. It was pretty nuts.
Yeah. Oh, whatever. I mean, I've been choked out. I've been beaten up. I've been embarrassed in front of millions of people. So, why not just keep it rolling?
Yeah. So, I mean, I imagine it was an easy transition from MMA to pro wrestling for you. Like, but what was it that made you want to jump into that world? I mean, I could see that you're a fan of Kane from the background there. So I'm guessing you've been watching from the beginning.
So actually, I did professional wrestling in 2005.
Oh, okay.
I was trained as a professional wrestler. So I was doing my first MMA fight was 2003. So I was 20 years old. I saw the UFC 2 when I was 12, I believe. I don't remember the first time I saw pro wrestling, but I've been a fan as long as I can remember my whole life. And ever since UFC 2, I've been a fan of MMA. And I mean, like, pretty much a hardcore fan. 2 VCRs running during the Monday Night Wars. I was ordering tapes from Japan of rings in, 1998 or 1999. I remember, I think Pride 4 I had on VHS. So this stuff's pretty, early on. So I've been a fan my whole life. I was a fan of wrestling and naturally a fan of MMA. I began wrestling in high school when I was 14. And then I had my first MMA fight at the age of 20. So that was 6 years later, 2003. And after I finished college, I was trained as a professional wrestler and did that for like 2 years. And then at about the same time, I never stopped training MMA. I was still training, at like an American Top Team affiliate in Orlando. And then, as time went by, I had a WWE tryout. I didn't get picked up at that time. And kind of in that time frame, I started gravitating more towards MMA. And I think about a year or two later, I was on The Ultimate Fighter. So that was kind of like my history to get where I was. I was at the UFC for 10 years. At the end of my tenure, I was serving a USADA suspension for Ostarine, like the most minuscule amount of the lamest substance that they possibly nail anybody for. And I sat out for 2 years. In that time, the UFC told me that I could go do professional wrestling. So I did. And then a couple months before my suspension was up, they cut me because I was doing professional wrestling and they didn't want to use me anymore. So
even though they told you to go do it.
Well, I mean, that wasn't like that was one of the reasons they gave. They had a list of reasons, but at least that I was given. So
Are you still looking to fight like MMA matches as well?
Yeah, I'm signed with the PFL. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. So I'm signed with the PFL, and I would have fought in June of this past year in the light heavyweight tournament, but obviously due to COVID, that put some of their plans on hold. And they are a company which does a season tournament. The winner of the tournament at the end of the year gets $1 million. So the risk is, it's pretty high risk, but also high reward. And due to the nature of that, they decided to postpone the tournament until next year. So now here I am waiting until 2021 to get back in the cage. But yeah, my plan was to fight this year. I'll be 38 next year, and my plan was to fight, go balls to the wall, hang up the gloves at the end of this year. But hell, as everybody can see, life throws you curveballs. So who the hell knows what's going to happen to me? I'll be back here in 10 years talking to you when I'm doing bare knuckle fighting in the jungle of Burma.
Right.
Myanmar, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Chris Lieben about that too because he's been refereeing and doing the bare knuckle shit too, and it's just it's nuts. It's the fight game is one of those few games that it's hard to go away from. When it's
Yeah.
everything that it's hard to say like, oh, I can't do it anymore. Like you always want to go back in there and train and do more. It's hard to walk away from.
And when you've had like a certain level of success, like the you know when you work for a living, you have to take into account what's the most amount of money I can make in the shortest amount of time, right?
Right.
And like for me, that's fighting. So it's kind of hard to walk away from when these are the opportunities that are presented to you. What are you going to turn? It's like turning down a job,
Yeah. Are you still with MLW as well?
Yep. Yep. I'm with MLW, getting ready to restart shows here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I heard it was in the fall. I mean, we're in the fall already. I don't even know what time or day it is anymore with this lockdown.
It's October now, but
it's October. I can't believe it's been that long that we've been locked down. But have you been able to produce any kind of money during this time? Because I know MLW shut down, and there's certain things like Bloodsport's coming back now with no audience. But have you been able to do anything?
There'll be 250 people, I think. Maybe 500. I believe that the place is going to be at a quarter capacity.
Okay.
I understand. My contract with MLW allows me to do some outside projects, and they've been, I was fortunate enough that they worked out some sort of agreement with New Japan, and I worked some of the New Japan tapings for the show, the USA show that they have on New Japan Strong, along with doing some independent shows that that I'm normally on, AIW Wrestling, Black Label Pro, Warrior Wrestling, Paradigm Pro. I've done shows for all those companies over the past few months. And my deal with MLW, like I said, allows me to do some outside stuff. So luckily, a lot of these companies are in the Midwest, and Indiana seems to just let you do whatever you want. Now, the companies that I've worked for don't let everybody just do whatever they want, so luckily we have people out there looking out for the wrestlers and everybody else. But I've been able to make some money, but I mean, like everybody else, it's not easy,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been a weird time for combat sports. I mean, it seems to be working out for the UFC, the whole no crowd thing, because it's
honestly, it's great as a spectator. I'm not worried about there being no fans there. I mean, the fights are just as exciting. Sometimes it's better. Even with small crowds, like a couple hundred people in a small arena, like they used to do for Ultimate Fighters. Perhaps that's the wave of the future. I don't know. It's tough to kind of figure out. Like, we're used to these huge events, like a football stadium where you can pack all these people in. And, well, you can't pack all the people in anymore, but that's kind of like the size stadium and arena that you need to safely social distance people. So
yeah.
It's kind of like, what do? Do you run smaller shows with, 100 people spread out in a smaller place, or do you run a bigger place with the same amount of people and give them a better or safer experience? It's kind of like, there's no telling what the answer is, It's uncharted territories, unnavigated waters.
Well, my hope is that some kind of vaccine happens, a functioning vaccine that people are willing to take, that aren't worried about the government sticking a microchip in them or something through the injection, so that we can get back to it. Because I mean, pro wrestling, for example, like UFC can get away with it, and even Bloodsport I think gets away with a small crowd because it's you're not focused on the crowd, you're focused on the action.
Yeah.
But you look at something like WWE, you kind of need the crowd. They're kind of the ones cheering people on and excitement, and the performers are actually looking at the crowd. Especially you look at like even MLW, like Contra Unit might not have gotten over as hard if they weren't causing a riot, making people throw chairs and water and bottles at them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm expecting there to, obviously I don't know because it hasn't happened yet, but I'm expecting there to be maybe a difference of presentation Obviously, like the WWE at first was terrible to watch, and then with the Thunderdome, it's better. It's still not the best answer, but I don't
nothing.
Yeah, and really, I don't know what is the best answer at this point. So it's kind of like you do what you can. Like sports, like some of the football broadcasts, and I think it depends on the production teams. Really, like some of them are good, and it doesn't bother me, and then some of them are bad. Baseball, terrible. I mean, I don't want to watch a baseball game with no fans. So there are different sports where it's like okay, but some of them just don't. Basketball doesn't have the same luster to me.
No.
But it seems like one-on-one kind of combat sports do better. And the better the closer they are to competition, the better off. Like we're talking about WWE needing fans. Well, that's because it's based around entertainment.
Right.
Whereas you can have a Bloodsport show with 100 people there, and they're gonna be captivated by the people trying to win. So
yeah. If you were to come back next Bloodsport, do you have an opponent in mind that somebody you want to work with that maybe you haven't worked with before? Maybe somebody from New Japan that you've had a nice, since you said you did a show for them recently. Yeah. Anything like that? Who would you want to face?
It's always I'll tell you what, like I was watching the announcements get made after the roster was put out there, and my hope actually was that I was going to wrestle one of the guys who was in the very first match I think that was announced, which was Simon Grimm and Matt Makowski, because I've known Matt for years and years, and I think he's only been in pro wrestling for a short time, but he's an outstanding talent, and I think in this environment he already shined in his earlier performance. I think he's going to do so even more against Grimm, and I've had countless matches with Simon Grimm, both on my side and against me, and he's one of my favorite people to be in there with. And I think in this environment we could have put on an awesome match. I didn't think I was going to get Homicide. Right? You look up and down, and it's like, okay, who am I going to fight? Maybe Davey Boy damn near killed me at the last one, so I was kind of like, well, probably not going to be him again. We already saw him pop my head off. I don't know if people need to see that again. Josh Alexander is awesome. He's making his debut kind of in this environment, so I had no clue who he was going to get. But I didn't think. I thought I was going to get somebody with some martial arts experience or background. Instead, I got the Street Fighter guy. So.
Well, he's not going to be able to bring bats or chains or barbed wire. I don't think.
I know, but here's the thing. At least then I know what to expect.
Right.
Then I'm thinking, well, what's he going to do? I'll get him on the ground. He'll probably bite me. Well, he can't bite me. He'll get DQ'd. So what, is he training in his off time? Is Homicide like some MMA savant? Is he a striking whiz and I don't know about it? I know he's buddies with Low Key, and he does martial arts all the time. So is Low Key training this guy? What the hell's going on here?
It's possible, man. It's possible. I don't know what he's doing.
He there yelling at me? What the?
I think it'll be an interesting match. Just as long as there isn't any kind of fuckery going on, I think it should be good. I think.
Well, we've seen Nick Gage.
Yeah.
He wrestled Kevin Cross, and he got beat up. I believe John Gresham beat Takeda when they fought, and Takeda is actually trained by Kiyoshi Tamura, which is wild because he's a deathmatch guy, but he didn't use any weapons either. So hopefully it'll stay in that vein,
Yeah. What would you say to a fan that's watching this right now that's kind of on the fence because they're MMA fans, but they're not pro wrestling fans because they think it's fake or, that's bullshit. Like, what can you tell them? Because I have this argument all the time, and it's like, yes, the pro wrestling you're used to from WWE and all that is all fake. Not fake, but like predetermined. They're still out there, putting moves on each other and hurting each other. So what can you tell a fan that's like more of a casual MMA fan to bring them over to watch Bloodsport?
Yeah, I'll be 100% honest with you. I have been in wrestling matches, professional wrestling, amateur wrestling matches, professional wrestling matches, grappling competitions, mixed martial arts fights, professional, amateur, virtually everything. And after the last Bloodsport I competed in, I was as beat up, if not more beat up, than virtually every other time that I've competed. If you watch the past shows, you would know. And if you haven't, I'm here to tell you, because I've experienced them, that this is the realest form of professional wrestling that you're going to see. You are going to see professional wrestling fighters trying to win a professional wrestling fight the entire time that they're out there. And if you're looking for the best action that you can find, if you're looking for the most exciting action that you can find, I mean, this is it if you're looking for the realest action that you can find.
Right. Yeah. Not the sports entertainment. You're looking for actual wrestlers with wrestling matches.
This is the real shit.
Yeah, man. Finally, I have just real quick. I mean, obviously you're a fan of the sport. You're a fan of pro wrestling. Is there any other thing that you nerd out about? I heard you mention video games. So, I mean, do you spend time playing video games at all?
No, like absolutely not. Which is, I think I mentioned them twice too. I usually like to throw in a Leisure Suit Larry reference when I get.
Oh my God, that game!
But I'm not like a big gamer whatsoever. I mean, back when I was younger, I was, No, honestly, it's so weird. Like my habits are, or what is it? Is it habits? No.
Hobbies?
My hobbies are my habits, basically, which are like martial arts and exercise. I don't know, I sometimes I count, it's like 300 books on Kindle. And that's just counting the ones I have downloaded on my phone. And I'd say 250 of them are exercise science related, training, strength training, cardiovascular training, wrestling techniques, jiu-jitsu techniques, grappling techniques, striking techniques, virtually anything that involves the human body and getting better at beating somebody up or, being optimized for performance. I guess that's kind of what I'm into, because that's all I do. So,
hey, that's what it takes to become.
Right?
Yeah, it's got to be one of you got to be that way to be one of the best, to be on the top shows.
I used to really enjoy like food challenges, eating challenges, but there was, I don't know if I grew out of it or what the deal was. There was 2 that I had failed out of maybe like 20. And I always told myself the third one I fail, I'm done. So I've always just avoided doing them since I failed the second one I failed at. So I've been thinking about maybe getting back into those, but it's a daunting task. There was a time where I thought I really could have, at least been in the Nathan's hot dog eating competition. And I see guys who are on that final stand putting away 20 dogs in 10 minutes or 30 dogs. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I could easily make that scoreboard. So maybe that would be something I get into in the future, but I couldn't take out Chestnut or anything.
But I mean, I worry about that kind of stuff especially when you're doing like MMA and everything. Like, isn't it terrible for your body to eat fucking 20 hot dogs? Like, isn't that going to mess you up internally, organs wise, Isn't
it terrible for you to get punched in the head and slammed around all the time? And,
yeah, I guess so.
It's probably pretty bad on your muscles and your joints and your internal organs, your brain, pretty much everything else. Listen, if doing a few food challenges is what's going to take me out, I'm fine with it. I love. People always ask me if I drink soda, and I'm like, I'll drink a 2-liter of Mountain Dew, Diet Mountain Dew a night, and they're like, oh, what about all the preservatives? It's like, listen. If that's what kills me, if on my tombstone you have to put this man died because he loved drinking Diet Mountain Dew so much, then so be it, right? If that's what takes me out, finally, go for it.
Yeah, I hear you. That's that makes sense to me. One last thing I had too was a lot of people that are not fans of the sport will say that MMA and pro wrestling is violent, right? Or that whoever does it is a violent person. Like but you're not. And in my experience meeting a lot of people, especially like Josh Barnett himself, like he's one of the nicest dudes I've ever met. And he's, low key sweetheart, even though he's a murderer and the war master. But how would you explain to someone that what you're doing isn't really like, you're not a criminal, you're not a violent murderer like in real life?
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I'm harming less people doing what I'm doing probably than anybody who's doing like a normal job and has to make decisions on banking and financial things. Like, what am I doing? I'm just getting out there for entertainment. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times people that get into MMA and stuff like this, I have an addictive personality. So if it wasn't an outlet, like maybe I'd be doing drugs. Maybe I'd be lying to the public to get my thrills, and trying to take public office. Who knows what it would be? But I know for a fact that me going out there and trying to win money by fighting another person who's doing the same thing, we're agreeing upon the same, principles. Well, neither one of us is probably going to get hurt in that controlled environment. You know what I mean? If I go out and I drive my car, there's not an EMT just sitting. I mean, they're waiting by, but they're not that close. If I get knocked out in a cage or I get something snapped, somebody's going to be there to take care of me pretty quick. So let's think about that the next time they want to bring up violence and stuff like that. Is the EMT waiting for grandma when she falls in the shower and breaks her hip and can't get up? No, but I've got an EMT, with me when I'm fighting. So really, I don't know. People still make that argument.
Oh yeah, yeah, and my argument to them is always
go fight those people.
My argument to them is that I've been in, whenever I'm in a fight with someone, and not like a professional fight, like an actual fist fight in the street or whatever, we always end up becoming friends after. There's like a mutual respect afterwards, and when it's a professional fight, it's therapeutic. Like there's a release that goes on, like all that stress you were mentioning of like crunching numbers or the finances or my taxes or all that stress that builds up in normal life. You don't really have an outlet. That's when you get the people that are beating up on their family members or shooting up something, because they're just pent up aggression. But when you're able to go to a gym and do like jujitsu or martial arts, you can let that out, and it's therapeutic.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, it's such an adrenaline rush too. I said I have an addictive personality. So like I said, I mean, I'd be getting that adrenaline rush from something else. Who knows what it is, but surely going out in front of the crowd and having them cheer or boo and having somebody hit me and having, my body react and just the adrenaline rush and feeling that you go through, it can't be replicated. I'm telling you, it can't be replicated by virtually anything out there. I don't think. I'm not going to go skydiving. I'm not out of my mind. Come on. I'm not fucking crazy. But
I've thought about it.
I've got to think it's, a similar feeling to that. So it's like, I'm maximizing my time. I'm doing what I want, right? I'm making money doing what I enjoy, and I'm getting like the biggest thrill that I want to have. So
yeah, I think the only thing that comes anywhere near close to being in a fight like that is performing in a band, like in a metal band or a hardcore band or something, where you're screaming at somebody's face and they're moshing in front of you and punching each other anyway. Like it's not the same, but it's close. It's the closest you can get, And then you would have to learn how to be in a band. So.
I'd be more like winning a battle rap, something like that,
Yeah. Do you listen? So what do you listen to when you're training?
I'll be 100% honest, right? I know this is going against the whole premise of the show, but totally hip hop, like 200%, pretty much all I listen to, or I'll listen to podcasts. When I'm training, if I'm doing mixed martial arts or boxing or something, usually some jams, something with a little attitude. Maybe not exactly DMX or Mobb Deep, but something along those lines. And then, something with a little more energy, maybe later on as the workouts winded down, some Busta Rhymes or like, a late '90s Eminem diss track, something along those lines. And then when I'm like lifting weights, it's something a little more chilled out. I don't want to get all amped up and use my energy in the weight room and in the gym if I don't have to. That's kind of like that's practice. That's putting change in the bank, so to speak. So it's kind of like a just not go through the motions, but try not to get too amped up so that you don't get injured.
That's interesting, man. I guess it has to do with personalities in terms of energy consumption. Like for me, I have to have like Converge or some kind of ridiculous heavy metal, pumping, so I can just get in that like, rage state, or else I start getting lazy. Like if it's something relaxing, I start, I'm like, all right, I want to kind of lay down.
When I say like mellowed out, I don't mean because I have tried to work out to really like mellow music, and because like a lot of people say when you fight and do stuff like that, you want to be really calm, and it's almost like you could take that too much to heart, and I was into stuff that was like too soft. You know what I mean?
Like Enya.
Hey, Enya's got some hard rips there. No, like I don't know, emotional music, I guess would be a better way to put it. And I had to get away from that. You know what I mean? So I still need stuff with like a little bit of energy, but not like I can't listen to Lana Del Rey and work out anymore. I used to try, but it's not working for me now.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
Also, the reason why I won't like necessarily listen to like I'm not going to throw on Busta Rhymes Break Your Neck or something like that while I'm lifting, unless I was, trying to kill it for like a max rep or something like that, where I really want all that energy. For me, unless I'm fighting, I kind of you want to keep even keel, you don't want to blow your wad doing other stuff. Because really what's the thing that's most important to me is either getting in the cage or, getting rounds in when I'm sparring or doing a pro wrestling match. And if you continually amp yourself up, right? Well, then you can't amp yourself up anymore. You know what I mean? If everybody's a superstar, nobody's a superstar.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense to me when you say it like that, like because you do, it's all about the gas tank. So it's good to be able to maintain a certain level and then ramp it up if needed. Like especially if it's MMA, you eventually knock them down, then ramp up to finish the fight. Something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like that's how training. That's how I kind of view training is like I'm always doing something, and then when the time is right, I don't need a huge spike. You know what I mean? Where a lot of people go 0 to 60, and when you go to 0 to 60, you start burning up the engine. You know what I mean? So kind of keep the wheels moving all the time, and then boom, hit it hard when you have to. And that's like, these are all things that you learn with experience. These are all things that you learn. Everybody's different. Like I said, you know what I mean? Like I can go on maybe like Death Heaven Sunbather and get through a workout or something, and be fine. But I couldn't do that, in an MMA practice probably. So it's always gonna be different,
Gotcha. Well, hey man, I'm looking forward to your match with Homicide, October 11th. If you're listening and watching this right now, make sure you order that pay-per-view on Fight TV. I thank you so much for your time, dude. I appreciate you taking time out of your training and out of your day to talk about this.
Yeah, no problem. I had a blast, man. I'm looking at the time and it's like, all right, why don't you keep going? But
yeah, I appreciate you, brother. And social medias for you, for people to follow you.
Yeah, you can check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Filthy Tom Lawlor. The biggest mistake they'll probably make is misspelling my last name. So I'll spell the whole thing out for you. FILTHYTOMLAWLOR. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram. I'm not peddling anything except for me. So
nice. Yeah, it's not Lawler like Jerry the King Lawler.
Or Robbie Lawler.
Right.
You know what? Who's actually the one that I get asked about more now. All the time. Nobody ever brings up Jerry the King anymore. It's always Robbie Lawler. So, hey, there's been a shift, I guess, in the fans out there.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, dude, I appreciate you, and yeah, good luck on the match, and I'll be watching. So,
I appreciate it. I had a blast. Thank you.
all right, man. Take care. Cheers.